Hello, everybody. Right now, I'd like to talk to you about Vanguard, media critics. I really like them. I think they're doing good work. I was watching one of their videos and I decided to respond to them. Approximately at 11 minutes and 30 seconds into the video that I'll post in the description, they'd ask, can anyone actually tell us why we work with Israel? No politicians want to do it. So, you're right. So I'm going to do it. All right, here we go. Reasons that we actually work with Israel. 1. Missile defense systems and intellectual patent sharing. Israel is surrounded by a bunch of reactionary countries. The most moderate country that they're surrounded by is Jordan, which is an authoritarian constitutional monarchy, literally ran by a king. So, Egypt is kind of sort of a democracy, and West Bank is almost kind of sort of a democracy that's overseen by Fatah. And then in Syria, to their north, the Assad regime fell, and it was replaced by a guy that literally used to be in Al-Qaeda is running it. So here, yeah, they're not exactly surrounded by nice people. So they have, by nature, excellent missile defense systems. So if we wanted to build upgraded missile defense systems, we can absolutely look into what Israel's doing, and we can apply it to our stuff. Here's another one. Intelligence sharing. A lot of Western allies, including Israel and the United States, most of the NATO allies too, we all have access to each other's files. So in other words, they have access to our stuff, we have access to pretty much their stuff. And because of the proximity in the Middle East, they're actually really good at collecting information in their area, pretty much like most countries are. And in their area, and their enemies are our enemies. So the more we know about our enemies, the better we are. For example, Hamas is our enemy. Fatah in West Bank is one of our enemies. Hezbollah, who actually got blown up with a pager bomb, is also one of our enemies and took the democracy of Lebanon. So they're going to be gathering information on these factions, and it's in our best interest that we know about it. Now here's the final one, and this one absolutely makes a lot of sense. Economics. Now if you wanted to go back in history, you can find the Crusades, the war over Israel, and you can absolutely wonder why that is. And it's the same reason that we're trying to maintain control in Israel too. Israel is perfectly located for shipping. If you really look where they are in Asia, the Middle Eastern area of Asia. They border Africa and they border Europe. So they have access to the richest parts of Africa, the north, and they also have access to the richest parts of Europe, the south, and they have very close access to it. And of course they have access to the Middle East because they're in it. That's a lot of money right there. It just is. A lot of the Crusades were actually about maintaining control of Israel so they could have the economic power that came with it. Now I know there's some stuff that Jesus died there, Muhammad died there for religions, but money is the main factor there, I would argue at least. So the final thing I'm going to talk about is national security. The United States has absolutely dwindled down their troop levels. We're at about 25% capacity compared to the height of the war on terrorism. And, of course, if we ever get in trouble, we can always work with Israel. Israel can help us protect our bases. And they do. They can provide air support, and then they can also help us out with intelligence of our enemies and the people that we're dealing with at our bases, which I kind of already went over. So there are benefits to working with Israel. And that is the answer to the question that the Vanguard guys were posing. And they were kind of posing it sarcastically because no one spells it out. I just did. But here, I'm going to go ahead and answer another question that I'm going to ask. Do I think that it's worth it considering all the stupid shit they're doing? No. Or I'll ask that again. Do I think that we should work with Israel anyway considering all the human rights violations that they're participating in? No. Deliberately targeting civilians and absolutely acting just as authoritarian and bigoted as all their neighbors is absolutely a bad reason to be working with them. If they're just going to act like another idiot government in an idiot country in the Middle East, we need to start treating them like they're another idiot government or idiot country in the Middle East. And that is absolutely stop giving in to them. And that's the answer to the question. Now, do I think what I think is actually going to happen? See, since they decided to act like a bunch of children and vote for someone like Benjamin Netanyahu, the same way that our country's majority acted like a bunch of idiot children and voted for Donald Trump. And unfortunately, if we ever do get a bunch of adults back in power, and if Israel gets a bunch of adults back in power, a lot of people are going to remember the idiots that we elected and the idiotic things that they did while they're in power, and they may not be receiving us as allies. So here we go. I think we're going to be stuck with them whether we like it or not. And I think the best move to do is just energize the adults in Israel and try to absolutely help them succeed while they're in power. Is that what's going to happen? We'll see. You know, even 5-6 years ago, I'd think that, they're just going to do what Israel says because all the old people are just going to just vote for them to back them no matter what. But things are changing, so I don't really know how long it's going to last. I think eventually Israel's going to develop into a foreign policy thing where they only get things when there's a Republican president and they get nothing with a Democratic president. But either way, we're going to be stuck with them to some degree, in my opinion. So to the Vanguard guys, that is the answer to the question. It's not, and that is the answer that all these politicians just simply don't have the cojones to just come out and say. However, I'm a pretty cynical guy, and I'm going to go ahead and say at least a third of them probably don't know any of the stuff I just said. So do what you want with it. Vanguard, keep the good work up, and people, keep your eyes open.